Okay, Chairman Socorn, this is Jim and this is Jeff. And Jim is an expert in financial law. Does business development. So he's going to explain to you about the $100 million leasing bank guarantee, where $100 million will be put in a bank for 1 year that will turn into $1 billion. Jeff, please explain to him that process and how it works.
The $100 million leasing bank guarantee. How that works is very simple. We're going to take $100 million, and it could actually be any amount. Minimum would be about $10 million. What can $100 million do, especially in bringing different programs and projects for what ACE has described as interests that you want to do, basically in film and entertainment, in the school here, philanthropic, humanitarian needs, economic development. How can we use $100 million best way in which we mitigate most of your risk? Instead of putting $50 million on a picture where you're at 100% risk of any kind of profit, especially in today's atmosphere with entertainment. We want to look at how we could take $100 million and actually use that to gain greater amount of money, which can be used in budget on certain projects. By taking $100 million, what we do is we set up a offshore company from the US, a JV account. The $100 million is put into a bank that is controlled by you, but it's agreeable for all the participants. And you basically lease a bank guarantee 10-to-1. Bank guarantee 10-to-1 would basically be a $1 billion bank guarantee. That bank guarantee is then taken and put onto different platforms. And it's used by a funder who will put his name onto the program, in which allows $1 billion to be put onto a private trade program. Trade programs are invitation only. Through many years that we've been in developing with different businesses, we've been able to develop our network of close financial international, basically associates that we can then use to get onto these different programs, who's allowed us to be participating.
Jeff, now you have contacts, so Chairman Socorn is able to get invited to this program, because not everyone can go in and put $100 million and make $1 billion, correct?
That's correct. The invitation is because we have proven that we've been able to develop businesses. The program itself it's called a wealth growth program, but it is not for individual wealth. It's not for profit. Basically, it is a capital asset development program in which we take the money that's put into the program allows you to expand that into being able to use that into multiple businesses, philanthropic uses, humanitarian, and through those different programs is where the individual can then pull their money back out as profit. But the program itself does not develop individual profit for the wealth growth of the individual. When we look at the $100 million, we put that into a program. The bank gives you $1 billion bank guarantee. That's under your name. The $100 billion, the $1 billion bank guarantee. The funder that is putting his name on the program and as part of the platform will take that bank guarantee, put it onto a trade platform. That trade platform then, over a period of 10 months, provides monthly residuals off of that trade. What that funder will do with this bank program where you're just leasing 10-to-1, he will go ahead and provide you a guarantee, 15% of the total amount of money that was put onto the trade program, which is $1 billion, 15% per month. That would be $150 million.
That would go to him to use.
Well, what that would do is that money would go into the JV account.
The JV
that
account
we've set up.
Yeah.
That JV, that offshore account, that then gets accumulated and dispersed as we go ahead and we put in basically loans or investment requests.
Or businesses. You said that the businesses that we can be put into that can create more jobs, or charity groups that will help the world, right?
Humanitarian programs, educational programs, anything that either develops work for the workforce, people, whether or if it's philanthropic, where it's a charity, or whether it's just humanitarian, where maybe we're building a transportation system renewable energy system, drinkable water, things
Electronics,
like that. Electronics,
Okay.
It can go into anything as long as it is generating
Work
for the economy and for the humanity. It's not money coming off of these programs is not for profit. It goes into programs that can create profit. That's where the individual investor of the $100 million would then basically get his money out of the program. When you put up $100 million, $1 billion gets put onto the trade. The trade then generates over 10 months at 1 month intervals will create 150%. Well, you get 15% of that 150%, which is basically 150 million per month. The total on a $100 million program would bring back $1.5 billion over a 10-month period. That 10-month period is actually over 12 months because there's a lot of bank holidays that have to be included and vacation days and everything. So over a period of 10 months, you would create $1.5 billion. Now we have that opportunity to, if we're showing that we're using this money in philanthropic, economic, humanitarian uses, and we're very successful with that in regenerating that money back into the economy, we can go ahead and run this program multiple times. Now multiple times would be up to 4 times for an individual. So what we do is take the $100 million, when the first $150 million comes back in, we will pull out part of that money and hold on to that for 1 or 2 months, and then use, instead of $100 million, we may put $200 or $300 million on the next platform. And what you're looking at is a way for us to generate a program with $100 million up to being able to generate probably $10 billion over an 18-month period. That money, again, is put into the different JV companies that we've created, and then what we do is, like we talked to ACE about the school, if the school wants $20 or $30 million, it goes ahead and submits a business proposal.
Which you would handle and put together,
which we would handle.
Jim, explain to the chairman, Socorn, the process on how we can put the movie studio, the Haifa School, and the charity group there with the $1 billion that is going to be the leasing bank guarantee.
Sure, my pleasure. Chairman, again, thank you. Nice to be able to direct a conversation to you. We met by Skype not too long ago, so it is a pleasure to talk to you again. To address ACE's point, we have dual roles and responsibilities with relation to how we put the returns on these programs to work. We are responsible to the platform funders, who are the ones who invited us in the first place, to assure that we present to them business plans that meet the requirements of the programs. As we said, there's going to have to be either philanthropic or an economic development benefit to some component of the use of the money. So one of the things that we do within our areas of expertise is to help develop and ultimately review those plans to assure that they're going to be in compliance with the funders' needs. Then, once the benefits are reaped by the joint venture enterprise, then we're involved in putting those funds to use, and it's part of our responsibility to assure that those funds are administered properly. And that means having a representation on the board of every company that is created so that we have complete transparency. We want to have, and up and down the line, because we're representing the interests of your involvement, because ultimately you'll be involved not just in generating the capital wealth growth, but also in the benefits and profits of those enterprises, whatever they happen to be. There are a few limitations on what can be approved, but the limitations are reasonably strict, and that's our responsibility to make sure that those are being met. If that gives you some idea of how we go about the process of implementing this as a program. Now, to take it more directly, the reason that we first all got together was to develop some business plan ideas and some implementation ideas with regard to the Film School Academy, some motion picture projects for development, some philanthropic programs that were being presented. So what we did, and which I think has previously been presented to you, was a written business plan on how we would implement that. The evolution of our relationship with ACE and ultimately with you has gotten to the point of, okay, how can we take $100 million and put it to the best use in accomplishing these goals? And of course, we could just spend $100 million on the business and they'll do what they do. And this is what we've had an opportunity to, and the privilege to be able to bring to the table an opportunity to expand the scope of that wealth so that the value of a $100 million investment ultimately can equal, as Jeff said, as much as $5 billion in effect. And that's what we want to be able to do is effectively capitalize, engage these companies, and then to make sure that they're managed properly. I mean, obviously, we're not going to manage all of them directly. We hire the right people. We get people with the proper credentials, people that are, in my case, it's very much about family. I want to have a sense of person. That's very meaningful to me. It matters to me that we have team members. This is the way Jeff and I have built our team over the last few years. We've chosen not to become engaged with many more people than we've chosen to become engaged with. And that's one of the privileges that we've had working with ACE is this sense of relationship that for us matters very much because this is a long-term type of thing. We're going to engage benefits that are going to employ many, many people throughout the world that have multiple humanitarian purposes and the ability to develop and generate new technologies, as we would refer to anything from renewables to electronics, all the things that push society forward and develop the economies of the world are within our capability to source. And any legitimate business endeavor, the first thing that you need to be responsible to do, and the way that we look at it, is that you have to be properly capitalized. Don't go into a deal unless you can do the deal. And for us, it's the first step. The business of movie making involves substantially more than that. Many more partners had the blessing over our years of experience to be able to develop. Is a team of people that help us implement these goals.
Okay, so Chairman Secorn, these are the guys that'll be able to do the leasing bank guarantee for $100 million that will turn into $1 billion. Jim is a expert lawyer and he does business development, which is Jeff. This is what they can do.
Chairman, pleasure. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Chairman.